You know that knot you get in your stomach when you're stressed? That feeling of being just completely wound up? It feels like such a modern problem, right? But what if I told you that physicians were describing and, get this, treating that exact same feeling more than 2,000 years ago? Well, today we're going to dive into some of the world's oldest medical texts to crack the code on a system of medicine that still speaks directly to our health.
So here's our roadmap. We'll start with the source materials, these amazing ancient texts. Then we'll crack the elegant code they use to classify nature's effects. We're going to apply that code to a specific herb for stress, see how single ingredients become these powerful recipes, and finally, we'll uncover the timeless view of health that's hidden in these pages. Okay, let's get into it.
So, here's the central mystery, the big question. Without a single modern lab or any kind of chemical analysis, how do they create a medical system that has lasted for thousands of years? The answer is just brilliant. It's a sophisticated system of pattern recognition.
Now, to really understand that system, we have to go right to the source. And for that, we're looking at two foundational texts from China's Han Dynasty, written way back around 200 AD. The easiest way to think about these two books is like this. On the left, you've got the Shennong Ben Cao Jing, that's our encyclopedia of ingredients, and on the right you have the Shenghanzi Bing Lun, that's the master book of recipes. So you can't really have one without the other. First things first, you gotta know your ingredients.
So let's start with that encyclopedia. The Shennong Ben Cao Jing, which roughly translates to the Divine Farmer's Classic of Materia Medica, is one of the oldest documents of its kind anywhere in the world. It catalogs hundreds of plants, minerals, and other natural substances.
But listen, this was so much more than just a list of plants or some old folklore. This was the result of generations of meticulous, systematic observation. I mean, physicians would observe, they would record, and then they'd pass that knowledge down, refining it over centuries until it became this incredibly sophisticated database of natural medicine.
Okay, so how do you organize all that information without modern chemistry? Well, you create a code, a way of classifying everything based on its observable effects on the human body. And this, right here, is where the sheer genius of this system really starts to shine. Their primary tool for classification was taste. That's right, taste. They figured out there were 5 core flavors, and they realized that each one had a predictable, repeatable action in the body. So if something was sour, it generally did one thing. If it was bitter, it did another. It's such an elegant way to turn a simple sensory experience into real, usable medical data.
Let's break this down. A pungent flavor, like you'd find in a radish, was seen to disperse and move things around. Sweetness was seen as nourishing, kind of harmonizing. Sourness, think of a lemon, was astringent. It pulls things inward and contains them. Bitter herbs were known to drain and dry things out, while salty ones could soften hard masses. This whole framework wasn't just descriptive, it was predictive. The taste of an herb was a direct clue to how it would work in the body.
But taste wasn't the only layer of the code. The second part was temperature. And not the literal temperature of the plant itself, but its effect on the body. Does it create a warming sensation, like ginger or cinnamon? Or is it cooling, like mint? By combining a specific flavor with a specific temperature, they could create this remarkably precise profile for any substance they studied.
All right, theory's great, but let's put this code into practice. We're going to use a case study that feels incredibly relevant for our modern, stressed-out lives. And we'll zero in on one specific and very important herb.
So here we have the original entry from the Shennong Ben Cao Jing for an herb called chai hu, which you might know as Bupleurum root. Now, in Chinese medicine, this herb is an absolute superstar when it comes to addressing issues that are rooted in stress and emotional constraint.
And here it is. This is the crucial point. The ancient text says its primary function is to treat knotted qi in the heart and abdomen. It's just a perfect example of this ancient language describing a physical sensation with incredible poetic precision.
But what does that actually mean for us today? Knotted qi. It might sound a little mystical, a little out there, but I guarantee you have felt this before.
And this is where it all just clicks together. Knotted qi is the ancient term for the physical sensation of stress, that feeling of being totally wound up, the tension in your chest and shoulders, that classic knot in your stomach. They didn't have our modern vocabulary for stress, but they knew the feeling intimately. And they had a whole category of herbs, with chai hu being a prime example, to deal with it, to literally help unknot that feeling.
So we've identified a key ingredient for a very specific pattern. But ancient physicians almost never used just one single herb. No, they were master chefs, combining ingredients into these balanced, synergistic formulas. And that's where our second book, the recipe book, comes into play.
Right here, on a page from the Shang Han Za Bing Lun, you can see this in action. It's not just one ingredient, it's a whole list of them, with precise dosages. A formula is designed to be so much more effective and balanced than any single herb could ever be on its own. It's a team of herbs, all working together for a common goal.
The process itself was incredibly logical. First, you identify the main pattern. In our case, that's knotted Qi. Next, you pick the star player, the key ingredient to address it, which is our Chai Hu. But you don't stop there. Then you add supporting ingredients to boost the main effect, maybe guide the formula to a specific part of the body, and harmonize the whole thing to prevent any unwanted side effects. It's a truly beautiful, systematic approach to creating medicine.
So when we zoom out from the individual herbs and recipes, what we start to see is this coherent and profound way of looking at health that is, frankly, completely timeless.
This system sees the body not as a machine with a bunch of separate parts, but as a deeply interconnected ecosystem. It doesn't just chase after symptoms, it's always trying to understand the underlying pattern of imbalance. It uses that elegant code of flavors and temperatures to unlock nature's pharmacy. And crucially, it never separates the mind from the body. That knot in your stomach isn't just a random digestive problem, it's understood as being directly linked to your emotional state.
So, in the end, the real wisdom we can pull from these ancient texts isn't just a list of things to take for certain problems. It's a perspective. It's a holistic framework for understanding how our bodies work, how we fit into the natural world, and how our emotions and our physical health are fundamentally and inextricably intertwined.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? After 2,000 years, this system can still offer us profound insight into something as modern as our daily stress. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. What other ancient wisdom is just waiting out there for us, ready to help us navigate the challenges of our modern lives?